everyone, welcome to URBONUS podcast. I'm the host Donatas URBONUS, and today my guest is a very well-known legendary player and the head coach of Fenerbahce Istanbul, Aleksandar Djordjevic. Hello, coach.
Hello.
It's a pleasure to have you here on this short podcast, and I wanted to begin with one of your, I would say, weirdest chapters of your career. We all know what you achieved as a player and so on, but I found it pretty weird that you kind of made it to the NBA in 1996, and it was a pretty big thing to do for the international guards, because if I remember well, I think that only Sarunas Jasikevicius was the established guard. There were some attempts by Andrew Gaze, by Sergei Bazarevic, by Vincenzo Espinosa, I think so.
No, Vincenzo Esposito.
Yes, Mauricio will be happy about this. And you kind of made it. You signed, but what I found it interesting that you signed with the Portland Trail Blazers, which were, okay, they were great in the Western Conference, but in few years later, they were known as the Jail Blazers. So it's a tough environment, I would say, for any European player.
I didn't know nothing about it, but obviously you haven't read that in 1990, I went to Celtics, undrafted and without an agent. I think I'm the only one who went there just to go on the free agents camp. They liked me, they offered me a contract. I signed the contract for the veteran camp and everything, and 2 months after that we went to a summer league to LA, and that's where I met physically my agent. There were no cell phones and everything, so actually this agent threw that story in his book that he wrote. He had the courage to write the book, not about it, but about every life. And back at the time, it was very tough for non-American players to go and play in NBA. It was meant to be only for the best players, and not like this case. They were looking for the stars, European stars, or the best players to have a shot, like they would like to say, in the NBA. And a lot of players like Dražen Petrović, Raja, Kukoc, Marciulionis, Sabas.
Danilovic was good.
Danilovic went there, of course, and all the others, Detlef Schrempf, but they were the best, you know. I can say also myself. And we get it. So I was there in 1990, then I came back to Partizan. And one of the friendly games that we played, the preseason games in old Boston Garden, I started that game with Chief Parrish, Kerry McHale, Larry Bird, and Reggie Lewis. So that was my getting to the NBA in the early days. Then in '96, I had offers after the EuroLeague title with Partizan. Every year after that, I just wanted to go to Milano. I saw myself there. I wanted to stay in Europe, play, have fun. Then after the Olympics '96, it was the last train, like I like to call it, to go there and achieve that part of the dream and be part of an NBA team, be an NBA player. So I did it. I signed at the Olympics. We played the finals against the USA team and the semifinals against a small European team, Lithuania. Just kidding. It was a great semifinal. It was a year after one of the greatest games that I used to play in my player's career, the European Championship of '95. So that was the story back then. There was not a lot of scouting, not a lot of following of the non-American players back at the time, so it was not easy for American teams to come and see us play. And then the game actually, in the moment that everything changed in that view of American basketball towards non-American basketball, was the final of the Junior World Championship in Bormio in '87, I believe. It was Yugoslavia against USA team. And I was the captain of that Yugoslavian national team with Dino Raja, Kukoc, Coach Pešić, and a lot of other players. We played against Gary Payton, Larry Johnson, Stacey Ogman, Simmons, Kevin Pritchard, all the others. Larry Brown was the coach, and we won 2 times against that national team. We won in the group, second one in the finals, and that's where that game actually opened the doors of non-American players and people from the United States said, "Hey, basketball is played over there. Let's see what is there." So all this scouting and all this awareness of non-American players being good enough to be in NBA came from that moment there.
Wow, and being a playmaker for Larry Bird, and then joining Blazers. It was hell of a different experience, right?
It was good. No, okay, but it was my decision. At the end of that Olympic Games in Atlanta, I had 2 offers actually from Hawks Atlanta. Lenny Wilkins was a coach of a national team, and he wanted me to join them. And then there was an offer from Blazers, and Sabas was on the team. So I said, I want to go play with that dude. He was okay. Sabonis was okay. It was fun being around him, being friends with him, playing with him. It was fun playing against him. So that was a little bit decision back at the time that I went to Portland. It was some of the issues that they have on the roster with the players. You mentioned that thing, but that's how it is. That's how it was back in the days, and they had to deal with it. I saw some episodes of it, but that's it. It was not in our DNA.
Bring us to that first interaction with Sabas in Portland's locker room or outside, especially when you left that guy heartbroken both in '95 and 1996. What was it?
Yeah, he was heartbroken when I left Portland. that was his biggest sorry day. No, we always have fun. Those are great games. '95 we played after 3 years of embargo of us not being on any of the competitions as Yugoslavia back at the times with a lot of political issues. We showed up in that '95 European Championship, winning the qualification group with, if you can believe, in the last shot in a overtime game against Bulgaria. And then we actually played that finals, won it. It was one of the biggest games in the history between our 2 nations for sure, and I believe even between a lot of national team competitions. On one side it was Sabonis, Marciulonis, Kurtinaitis, Komičus, Karnišovas, Stombergas. It was unbelievable game on the team on one side, and on the other side it was us with Divac, Danilovic, Savic, Paspalj, myself, all the others. Coach Ivkovic was there, and that was a pretty good game, pretty good finals. We won it at the end. It was a big game, big night for us, and history-changing momentum for our basketball.
Was it hard then to find a connection with Sabas after all these rivalries?
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Sabas is the easiest guy to have a connection to. He's a great guy, great person. Of course, we were rivals, but at the end, we just found our thing, found our stuff. He used to teach me some game of cards that you guys play here. I believe he didn't teach me all the rules because he was winning all the time. He always kept something in his pocket, but that's the way he was.
What was the game of that card game?
It's just cards. He would use
with some curse.
Yeah, exactly. Cards and your blah blah word after it. Sabas. That story is a fun story, but it's always there. I don't think he knew the name of the game. He just loved playing it. So each person, American guys or coaches, whoever was approaching us, they were, "Oh, you're playing cards. What's the name of the game?" He would just look, cards. Name of the game, cards. He was so pissed. And he was unbelievable player. Unbelievable. He would make all the others better. Everybody on the squad, on the coaching staff, everybody. He was unique.
What was also unexpected for me that Saras played in your retirement game. You were almost 10 years older than Saras, and Saras back then, he was also pretty young.
Jasikevicius, yeah.
There was a big difference. So,
yes,
what
but
was the history
he
behind
actually
that?
showed me his respect, and that was something that I appreciated a lot. Saras is a legendary ex-player now. He's a legendary coach, and he's a great guy, fun guy, and he just grew up probably with my generation. We were before him, so he just wanted to show respect, and I'm grateful for him and to him and to everybody else who joined that game.
And you both share kind of some common things. You both had a great player career. You also had that big charisma, and I will throw you some numbers talking about yourself. In the beginning, 21.5 points in College Cup final 1989, 23 points, an amazing buzzer beater, winning the title in 1992 Badalona. 29 and then 38 points in College Cup again, this time for Milan in 1993. Of course, 41 points in that sad and unfair Eurobasket final, 1995. But
referees.
Yeah.
Referees, like you guys would say, referees.
I was too young to witness that game live, but I rewatched that game. Refs weren't that bad like everybody was talking about.
Exactly.
So that was
what they know. Sabas know, Sharas know, they know. They just made that pressure because they wanted it, but it was, the game was like that. They couldn't win, so it was something to throw.
But what I wanted to ask you, that both you and Sharas, so crazy talented offensive players, how the hell you guys became so obsessed about defense as the head coaches?
Well,
what happened?
Mike D'Antoni was the best defender ever, maybe for sure in Italian basketball recent history, and unbelievable defender. And he's all about offense. And a lot of times they say that it's opposite, being a player and to become a coach. We were good offensively, and I was. Let me talk about myself. But I love winning. Not only games, I love to win at the end. The emotions and the feelings that I had, winning it all, the titles, the medals at the end, winning the finals, are something that is going to be in myself for the rest of my life, and also to all the people that was around me in that moment and to everybody else. So having that emotions and sharing them, understanding what it gave to us, to our lives, is only possible if you play strong defense. Defense makes you win titles and medals. Offense makes you win games. That's the old saying, and I took it, and that's what we're trying to do. Of course, you cannot win games without offense. You cannot go without maybe some of the numbers or some of the nights that some of the players might have, and without the players, it's impossible. So I think maybe it comes from the discipline that we were taught. By our coaches, by prior to because it was about discipline, and defense is a lot about discipline. So I believe I was a disciplined player. Nevertheless, I was not that defensively oriented or dominated like I was offensively, but I was pretty good, especially in team defense.
Do you think Coach Djordjevic would like player Djordjevic?
Yes.
Mostly because of...
Absolutely. Because he was a good player. Coach Djordjevic likes good players.
Talking about that connection between coach and player, as a scorer like you were in your career, making all these shots and making your career also because of scoring, how do you feel right now watching your team going through a shooting slump, probably, I would say, missing important shots, but missing good shots also, and how did you try to get yourself at first from the shooting slump you had in your career?
To answer your last question, I don't remember.
Because you didn't have any shooting slumps?
I didn't know. It's periodical. That's how it is. The great shooters have their slump. It's a word that Americans use a lot, and I hope we're not in there. It's obviously that once you play the game, you have to make it, and it comes from your personality. It comes from your strength. If it comes from your mental awareness and mental preparation for the effort that is in front of you, which is a game. And those things come with confidence. Sometimes that confidence you have to transfer to the players, but what I believe is players must have it in their backpack, bringing it to the team that against them, that gave them a contract, because playing without confidence it's not what is going to make it happen. So we'll see. We'll see tomorrow. We have a good possibility here to play a great game and to see if we're out of that slump like we had last night against opponent in Munich.
And for example, when you have these 2 days between games, do you try to interrupt the process?
No, it's a process of coaching. It's a process, and it's beautiful because you have to find all kind of weapons to make your players come out, or help them to perform the best they can, and you find a lot of ways to do it. Sometimes he's talking, sometimes is provoking, sometimes is making them of being aware of their mistakes. I'm the guy who likes to give to support the player, to be there for him if I can. I'm not always like that, but I believe that we coaches are here to put our shoulders under the players' feet in order for them to touch the skies that some of us had a chance and luck to have touched those stars in our careers. So this is our job, and if they understand, then it's okay. But even players themselves, they are really good in coming out, showing that toughness and readiness to perform. So you need one big game.
You mentioned that you can build a winning team, but if you want to have a championship team, you need a leader, a true leader.
That's in my declarations and my relations when I talk about team building. Yes.
And when you joined Fenerbahce, let's say it wasn't your team, it wasn't the team you've built. So who was that leader you recognized in the beginning?
It's absolutely. We have in Nando De Colo and Jan Veseli, two leaders, absolute. So there's no question about it.
Because especially for you, it's very important to have a playmaker. The leader is a playmaker.
No, absolutely. Nando is that one definitely in all his career, not only in Fenerbahce, and he's doing it for us. So him and Jan, on the other hand, is different kind of leader, but also showing this leadership skills. And in his career, in Jan's career, his role was not always like that, but he evolved to this thing, in my opinion.
And talking specifically about Nando as your playmaker, what kind of leader he is, and what kind of leader you want him to become for your team?
He's exceptional, unbelievable professional. I never seen a guy like that, so focused, so serious, so responsible towards the obligations, towards the what club gave to him. He wants to give that back. So responsible, so leading by the example, always focused, always on the point, always precise, never relaxed. He's a great example. Who had him as a teammate. I'm sure that anyone learned. Everyone who had him as a teammate learned a lot from him. And I'm telling the words of Miloš Teodosic, who I had a chance to coach in Virtus and in my national team. He said I learned a lot from Nando. When Nando when they were in CSKA, Nando's way of preparation, professionalism, taking care of his body, approaching the games and everything else. Now Nando is a real champion.
And who was your, let's say, best leader in your coaching years, which you try to set as an example and to show as an example to your players?
Well, I don't give that kind of.
Yeah.
I don't give that kind of, because a lot of I was lucky that I had a lot of good leaders, great leaders, and right now I'm focusing on my leaders that I have. But what also I believe, everyone in a club, not only in a team, can be a sort of a leader in what he does. There is a reason why all the people are chosen by the top clubs, all the players, coaches, and everybody around, because they're the best, or you think in that moment they're the best in what they do. So in that thing, in that aspect, they can put that leadership detail or leadership aspect towards the good for the team every day.
In Lithuania and probably in all Europe, we respect Serbia and Serbian basketball school for its mentality. We recognize you as true warriors, fearful warriors, disciplined and physical.
Likewise.
Yes. And we saw it on your national team last century. We also saw it on your coach team in Serbia last decade. There was that gap with Željko Obradović team in 2005. You remember that press conference when he challenged the Serbian stars. But it seems like you guys were back on track again. But what I want to ask you, is it different right now to teach that mentality with this new generation of players, not only in Serbia, but for example, when you come in Fenerbahce, probably you want to expect the same.
Well, mentality that you're talking, winning mentality. I have on my board in a coaching room, I have this saying, winning mentality and dash mentality of the winners. So it's not the same. You have to create this understanding that you need a mentality of the winners. So a lot of things starts and in a coaching job, especially from the selection, excuse me, of your staff, selection of the players at the end, selection of the program that you're going to try to, to coach, to be there. And that selection is the first step that it has to be really, really thoroughly done in order to create that winning mentality, if you're looking for that. And since we are completely damned cursed by this wish of winning at the end, and I grew up with generation before me, with Kicanovic, Dalipagic, with them on 78 in Manila, winning the World Championship, and I said, I wanted to be those guys. I just didn't want to wear the jersey of national team. I wanted to win it with the jersey of national team. I wanted to lift up the trophy as a captain. Those were my goals, my dreams, my objectives. And this thing not everybody has. Now there are different goals in each player's mind, different motivations also, different backgrounds, different coming up. So nowadays it's a lot about calculation of the momentum of these summaries. Am I going to be there? Should I go? Am I advised by someone to go there? Am I risking anything? Am I going to take advantage of this competition? Can we win? Should I hide myself? Should I propose myself to be judged by the basketball environment all around? Those are all the things that you underestimate in the one player's mind, because they're there. Back at the times, we wanted it. We wanted a challenge. I wanted to play Sabonis and Marciulionis. So I wanted to see if I'm good enough to beat those guys. They were the champions for me, so I have to be better than them. Right now, I found out in my coaching career of the national team, sometimes they're backing out. Sometimes they don't want that summer. Sometimes they're like throwing some excuses or taking care of the body, or it's my contract year, I'm free agent, I'm this, I'm that. And I do have a lot of respect for some of my players that I coached. That we were like in 2017, I had like exactly one moment when some of the players I asked, to make a point in front. It was a press conference. I said we had some of the people, players who didn't want to play. They said no this year, that year, I don't, contract, not contract, this, body, blah, 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 which I respect it. Everything is legal completely, it's normal. But then I asked my players, who from you does not have the contract? And I had 6 or 7 guys, raising the hand, starting from Simonovic being in that moment the captain of the team. I said, well, this goes a credit to you guys. You don't have a future, but you wanted this national team challenge, this national team pride. So we created something. I gave you something of mine to you, and you understand how important that is for you, your families, and for the people that we are playing for. So those are the things that were in my mind to transfer to the generations after, or to the younger kids or players who are there, to understand how important this could be in their career. Wearing a jersey of your national team, that's something else. But even more if you win with that jersey. And it's not everybody will accept that challenge. And it needs a lot of courage. National
team is another thing. What about working in clubs and dealing with this different generation?
That's a different aspect. That's a lot of professionalism coming in, a lot of money, a lot of contracts coming in. That's a different calculation. That's a different stuff. It's there. Professionalism is there. Big contracts are there. So also playing with them, coaching them. It's another type of challenge. Depending on the situation that these guys have contract-wise or not on the clubs, you have to adapt. Sometimes you're not that free to say everything or to do whatever you want, because you cannot do exactly what you feel, because there are a lot of things to think about. So you just play by the rules. Rules are what they are, and you give your best to the players the same way. I'm still trying, in my opinion, to create winning environment with the winning mentality through the mentality of the winners, and that's my job. Those are my goals. I will never back out from them. So the thing is, if I can transfer good enough starting point of what's a bigger sensation for you, hating to lose or liking to win, and those are the things that will push you or push us to do something extra on the floor every day in order to get the wins. Sometimes it's there, sometimes it's not. It's a process, and it's like a roller coaster, and that's why it's fun. Not all the times, but it's fun.
Coming to end, next year it will be 30 years since you won the Triple Crown with Partizan, and it's very symbolic because your former head coach Zeljko is again on the bench of Partizan. What is also very funny that the son of Koprivica, sorry for Slavica Koprivica, Balša is playing for the team also. How proud do you feel about this team organization being on the rise again and reaching for big goals?
But that's unbelievable. That's also a process. Partizan went through a lot of things. They were also forced, playing in the EuroLeague, even Final Fours after our achievements. I believe it was in Paris. I can't remember the year, but I'm sure it was 2010 maybe.
Something like that.
Yeah, so, Zeljko being there, it's obviously that the expectations are high. He's going to create that winning mentality that we're talking about, definitely. Son of Koprivica. Koprivica was my best man at the wedding, so you can imagine how I feel for that kid. Now he's there, playing there, and it's unbelievable. The legacy is going, the circle is coming back, and some names are there, are still there. A lot of great fans, a lot of great atmosphere, a lot of great games in front of them. I wish them all the luck. I was forgetting about 30 years of it. Now that you remember, it's a long time, but still proud of it. Still proud of how we did it. We're still. It's still very tough to repeat that. I don't think it's going to be easy, but being Zeljko, being where he is, I'm sure that's one of his goals.
Yeah. When we talked about Šaras and kind of compared you with Šaras because you have a lot of things in common, I remember Šaras was...
I was better defender than Šaras. That was definitely the truth.
Šaras was really bad defender. I mean, that's not a secret. And he wouldn't be angry on this also. That was for sure. Although he might be a better passer. He had some nasty passes, right?
Yeah, he was.
You were that kind of sharper shooter, sharper passer.
He was back in our days, we couldn't pass the ball to the guys who were jumping above the rim. The rule was you cannot throw it for the alley-oop. The ball has to go under the rim. For example, I played in Milano with Antonio Davies, and you couldn't. Antonio Davies was slam dunk champion 1 year in States. They were lifting up the basket, and it was like, I can't remember, 360. I think he dunked on 360. 3 meters and 60, he dunked over, and you couldn't throw the ball. Mike D'Antoni was a coach, so we couldn't throw it up because it was not legal. But you're right. Šaras was an unbelievable passer. He was an unbelievable player. He was unreal. The good thing about Šaras, he never talked to the referees when he was playing.
He wasn't? Because it doesn't look like that. But what I wanted to ask you, that he always had that dream in his mind to come back to his hometown, Kaunas, and to do something with his first love, Žalgiris. What was weird for me that you never coached in Serbia in the last 15 years.
Well, I came back with my dream was with my national team.
Except from national team, that's for sure. But talking about clubs.
Well, okay. Club is club. Club is club. Maybe there was never the opportunity. You never know. I'm far away from the pension, so you never know. But one of my dreams is come back and do something with the national team. And I think in a small way, I managed to do something good.
And I remember your story about your father, Bratislav Djordjevic. And as I understood, he was hard guy to please, to be pleased. I remember you talking about coming back from a good game with a good stat line, with a victory in your pocket. And he was complaining about your focus on defense, on your shot selection and things like that. How hard to be pleased he is now watching you coaching.
Same thing.
Same thing.
Same exact thing. So you can imagine our phone calls right now. It's a lot about it. But he helped me a lot to be self-aware of having done the job in a good or not from the young age, also till now. And that's something that he indirectly put in my personality with that talk that you mentioned, that it was the truth. That he was talking about concentration and this and that and weak side and blah, 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 the things I never heard till that moment because I thought only it was about 23 points that I scored that game. And this was something that even now I have every time I close myself and analyze my mistakes, what I did, what I could have done better in order for my team to win or to help the guys. So that was a good thing that he did. I wasn't thinking about pleasing him. It was not about pleasing him. I'm not doing anything. Yeah, I'm not doing anything to please anyone other than my daughters and my wife. But sometimes, it was just his way of educating me to become something else, to become not a good, but maybe even better than I could maybe be. So that was his way of pushing the bar even higher towards myself. But his way definitely to teach that it was about me.
Is he still coaching you, or since you won some medals with the national team, he thought that, okay, maybe you're doing a nice job?
No, we talk a lot. We talk a lot. He sees a lot of stuff. He sees a lot of games, and it's fun always having a father that he's so passionate about your own job. So we talk a lot.
Aleksandar Djordjevic, it was a pleasure. Thanks a lot for being on the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.